Listen, K-Fam. A 5-year-old girl walked into a dark bedroom in Bel Air and pointed at a wheelchair. IU. She said 2 words. Race me. The man in that bed hadn't stood up in 3 years. Seo Taehyun. They called him Snow Wolf. Koi tattoos climbing his neck. Scarred hands. Dead eyes. The most feared boss in Koreatown. Rotting in silk sheets. Dr. Maya Bennett never wanted to walk through that iron gate. She was a Black American physical therapist, 30 years old, specialized in spinal rehabilitation, single mother, her own mama in the ICU. Daycare shut down that morning. She had 1 contract left, 1 clause with a fine that would end her career, and 1 little girl with butter yellow overalls and LED sneakers strapped to her hip. She thought she'd hand off a chart and leave. She never made it into the room. Her daughter did. Zoe Bennett, 5 years old. A red toy car in her left hand. She pushed a steel door open and stared at the Snow Wolf like he was another kid on a playground. K-Fam, listen. Something inside that man cracked, and something inside that mansion started counting down. 2 weeks later, a detective was waiting in her parking lot with photos she wasn't supposed to see and a pen drive she wasn't supposed to open. But what happened after Zoe said those 2 words changed everything. Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. Maya was already dressed when the daycare called at 6:47 on a Monday, and the woman on the other end sounded like she had rehearsed the words twice before dialing. Roaches, 2 floors, county inspector, closed until Thursday, maybe Friday. Sorry, Dr. Bennett. Sorry. Maya said thank you because that was what you said. She hung up. She stood in the kitchen with her phone still warm against her ear and looked at the coffee she had not touched. The apartment smelled like the cinnamon toast she had burned trying to hurry Zoe out the door. Baby, she called, soft. Come here a second. Zoe came skidding around the corner in butter yellow overalls, LED sneakers, flashing red and green with every step. The little red toy car, clutched in her left fist, the way it had been clutched every morning for the last 2 years. Her afro puffs bobbed on top of her head, tied with coral pink bows. Maya had knotted herself at 6:15. The bows were crooked. Zoe did not care about bows. Race? Zoe asked, because everything was a race. Not right now. Zoe registered the tone before the words landed. Her grin flattened 1 notch, not gone, just careful. Maya crouched. She did this every time she had to deliver bad news to a 5-year-old, because bad news delivered standing up felt like a verdict, and she was tired of feeling like verdicts. Daycare's closed today. Am I sick? No, honey, the daycare's sick. Bugs, they gotta clean it. Zoe tilted her head, working it through. So I stay with Nana? The phone in Maya's hand buzzed before she could answer. She looked at the screen. Cedars Sinai. Not Nana's number, the hospital's. Her stomach did the thing it always did. That small, hard drop. The one she had learned to ignore for 2 years and had never once succeeded in ignoring. Hold on, baby. She stepped into the hallway. She kept her back to Zoe. Dr. Bennett? This is Nurse Ortega in cardiac. Your mother came in about 40 minutes ago. She's stable. She's talking. But she asked us to call you before you found out from someone else. Maya's hand went to the wall. She left it there. The wall was cool. She counted the cool of it, because counting kept her voice from doing what it wanted to do. What happened? Chest pain at 4. She drove herself to the ER, which, Dr. Bennett, I want to be very direct with you. She should not have done. She's stable now. They're admitting her for observation. Probably 24 hours, could be 48. I'm on my way. She specifically asked me to tell you not to come. She said you had somewhere you had to be today. Maya closed her eyes. Of course she said that. Meg Bennett had been telling people not to come since 1974. Tell her I heard her. Tell her I'm coming after work." She put the phone on the counter face down. She stood there long enough for Zoe to notice, which was 2 seconds. Zoe walked up and pressed the little red car against the side of Maya's knee, like she was checking the tire pressure of her mother. "Mommy, okay?" "Mommy's okay. Nana, okay?" Maya's throat did a small thing. She pressed the roof of her mouth with her tongue until the thing stopped. "Nana's at the hospital. She's fine, but she's gonna stay there a night so the doctors can watch her heart." Zoe considered this. Zoe considered everything. She was the only 5-year-old Maya had ever met who thought before she reacted, and Maya sometimes wondered if she had raised a person or a small, quiet lawyer. So who watches me? That was the question. That was the whole question of the morning, of the week, of the last 30 months of Maya Bennett's life. Nana watches you when the daycare closes. Mommy watches you when Nana can't. There is no third person. There has never been a third person. The child's father had signed away his rights the week Zoe turned 2, and had moved to a town in Nevada that Maya could not remember the name of if a gun were pressed to her temple. "Mommy's gonna figure it out," Maya said. Okay. That was the other thing about Zoe. When Maya said she was going to figure it out, Zoe believed her. Maya sometimes wished her daughter would push back a little, because the trust was heavier than pushback would have been. She walked back into the kitchen and picked up her phone and scrolled to the name she did not want to scroll to. Ellie. Elena Marchetti. Her partner at the clinic, sort of. The Italian one, with the sharp eyes and the sharper opinions and the caramel bag she carried like a weapon. Maya had known her 4 years. Maya trusted her the exact amount you trust a coworker who has never once actually asked how you are. She started typing. "Hey, is there any way you could—" She deleted it. She started again. "Ellie, I hate to ask, but—" She deleted that one too. She had asked Ellie once, 2 years ago, a single afternoon after a strep test at Zoe's pediatrician had run long. Ellie had said yes on the phone and then had shown up 90 minutes late with a Starbucks in her hand and a story about traffic that Maya had not believed then and did not believe now. Zoe had waited in the pediatrician's lobby with the receptionist and had eaten 3 lollipops and had told Maya, on the drive home, that Miss Ellie smelled like a purse. Maya had never asked again. She scrolled further. 2 other numbers. One neighbor who had moved to Sacramento in April. One college friend who lived in Long Beach and worked 12-hour shifts. She locked the phone and put it in her back pocket. She looked at the folder on the counter. Beige. Thick. Clipped shut with a gold clasp the color of a wedding band. Bel Air address on the label. Cedars Sinai letterhead beneath the private client stamp. Contract number 378-A. She had signed it 11 days ago. She had signed it because it paid more in 8 hours than the clinic paid her in a week, and because the clinic had cut her hours in February, and because Zoe's kindergarten deposit was due in October, and because the electric had gone up again, and because when the referral came through, her supervisor had said, quote, "Bennett, take it. We don't get invited into houses like that twice." She had signed it. She had also read it. Clause 17. Failure to appear on any scheduled day, absent a documented medical emergency of the contracted physician herself, triggers immediate termination and a penalty equal to the full contracted sum, wired to the Seo Family Holdings account within 48 hours of the missed appointment. The full sum, not the day rate, the full sum. Maya could not pay the full sum. Maya could not pay a tenth of the full sum. Maya had $5,700 in savings and a car with 94,000 miles on it, and Clause 17 would eat both of those things and still be hungry. She looked at Zoe. Zoe was on the floor now, rolling the red car across a tile grout line that she had decided was a highway. "Baby," Maya said, "we're gonna do something today, and I need you to be my big girl, okay?" Zoe looked up. Her huge dark eyes did the thing they did when she sensed the ground shift. Not scared. Alert. "Okay. You're coming to work with Mommy." Zoe's whole face lit. Coming to work with Mommy had happened exactly twice before in her life, both times at the clinic, both times featuring stickers and a lollipop, and a nice receptionist who called her Dr. Zoe. Zoe loved coming to work with Mommy. "Are we going to the clinic?" "No, baby. We're going to a house, a real quiet house. There's a man who's sick and I have to help him get better, and while I do that, you're gonna sit in a room next to us and be so quiet. Can you do that?" "I can be quiet. I mean statue quiet, ninja quiet." Zoe pressed her lips together in the exaggerated way 5-year-olds do when they are demonstrating a promise. She held the pressed lips for 4 seconds, then she nodded once, curt, like a small executive. "Okay," Maya said. She stood. She picked up the beige contract folder. She slid it into the deep olive leather bag Ellie had given her for Christmas last year. The one Ellie had said was investment leather, and Maya had said was 2 months of formula. She added a coloring book. She added the pack of triangle crayons. She added the little pouch of dried mango, because Zoe would eat dried mango on the surface of the moon. She added a juice box. She added a spare pair of socks, because socks were the difference between a good day and a bad day when you were 5. She added the red car by prying it gently out of Zoe's hand and telling her it would ride in the bag like a taxi, which was a lie Zoe accepted because the bag smelled like her mother. She knelt again. She retied the coral bows because now she had 30 seconds and she cared. Ready? Ready. They went down 2 flights because the elevator in the building had been broken since March. Zoe took the stairs one at a time with her left hand in Maya's and her right hand against the railing, sneakers flashing on every landing. On the 2nd floor, a neighbor's door opened, and a woman in a robe glanced out, saw them, said nothing, closed the door. Los Angeles. The car was where she had left it. The car started, which was the daily miracle. Maya buckled Zoe into the car seat in the back and handed her the coloring book and the crayons and the red car back, because a promise was a promise, and Zoe had earned the taxi's return. Maya put the address into her phone. Bel Air. 22 minutes at this hour. 38 if the 405 did what the 405 did. She pulled out of the lot. 2 blocks in, Zoe spoke from the back seat. "Mommy?" "Yes, baby." "Is the man in the quiet house nice?" Maya opened her mouth. She closed it. She checked her mirrors. She thought about the intake file she had read at 3 in the morning last Tuesday, sitting on the kitchen floor with a highlighter, the folder open on her thighs. Seo Taehyun, 37, male, T7, complete spinal cord injury, non-progressive, 3 years post-incident, non-verbal for the first 11 months, refused 7 consecutive rehabilitation physicians, confined by choice to a single bedroom on the 2nd floor of the residence. Family requests full physical therapy protocol without discussion of prognosis or emotional counseling. Family requests no mention of the incident. Family requests that the physician's presence not be announced beyond the 2 staff members required for entry. The intake had said Seo Taehyun. It had not said Snow Wolf. The name Snow Wolf had come from her supervisor's mouth 10 seconds after Maya had signed page 14. It had come with a look. It had come with the sentence, "Just so you know who the family is." Maya knew who the family was. Everyone in West Los Angeles who read a newspaper knew who the CO family was. Maya had read the newspaper. She looked at her daughter in the rearview mirror. Zoe was drawing a purple sun on top of a green house. "He's tired, baby. He's just tired. That's not nice. Not nice is different from tired." Zoe considered this. Zoe considered everything. "Okay," Zoe said. She thought, for a second, about calling Cedars back, about telling Nurse Ortega to put her mother on the line, about hearing Meg's voice say what Meg's voice always said, which was, "Baby, I'm fine. Go work," and about how those 5 words would carry her through the day the way they had carried her through the last decade. She did not call. Meg had asked her not to come. Meg had also asked her not to call before 10. Meg had opinions about what a working mother's morning should look like, and one of those opinions was that a working mother's morning did not include a phone call to a hospital bed. Meg would be furious later that Maya had not called. Meg was furious about most things Maya did, and Maya loved her for it, because a mother who stopped being furious was a mother who had stopped paying attention. They took the 10 East and then the 405 North, and the 405 did what the 405 did, and Maya sat in traffic and watched the clock climb toward 8, and thought about Clause 17, and thought about her mother, in a hospital bed refusing to let anyone come, and thought about the fact that she had a Vanderbilt doctorate in physical medicine and rehabilitation with a subspecialty in high cervical and thoracic spinal cord recovery, and she was still, at 30, one bounced check away from losing everything, and she thought about the way Zoe had said okay 2 blocks back, small and certain, and she gripped the wheel until her knuckles paled, and then she loosened her hands, because Zoe could see her hands in the mirror if Zoe looked up. Zoe looked up. "Mommy." "Yes, baby. Your hands." Maya loosened them the rest of the way. "Sorry, baby. 'S-okay." She thought about the day she had signed the Vanderbilt loan papers at 22. She thought about the day she had signed the divorce papers at 28. She thought about how the 2 signatures had felt identical in her wrist. She thought about Clause 17. She thought about the way a wire transfer of that size would strip her account and then keep going, chasing a debt she could not outrun in a car that could not outrun anything. She thought about how Meg would sell the house before she let that happen, and about how she would rather crawl on glass than let Meg sell the house. She thought about none of this out loud. Zoe was humming in the back seat. The hum was tuneless, private, a hum that belonged to a girl who did not yet know that adults kept accounts of things. "Mommy." "Yes, baby." "When we get to the quiet house, can I say hi to the man?" "No, baby." "Why?" "Because he's tired." "Even a small hi?" Maya's mouth wanted to smile. She let it, half an inch. "Not even a small hi." "Not yet." "Okay." Zoe went back to her purple sun. Maya went back to the road. They came off the 405 at sunset and climbed. The houses stopped being houses and started being propositions, gates, hedges, cameras on poles disguised as landscape lights. Maya had been in Bel Air twice in her life before this contract, both times for hospital fundraisers, both times parking at a curb 3 blocks away because a valet in a red vest had made her feel like the wrong shape of person. She was not parking at a curb today. Today she was driving through a gate. That was what the contract said. The gate was up ahead. She saw it before she saw the men. 12 feet of black wrought iron with a CO family crest at the center. A crane over a mountain. Ink black on ink black. The sort of design you had to already know to read. 2 low stone walls flanked the gate and ran off into juniper on either side. A camera mounted on the left post rotated 1 inch as her sedan came around the curve. Then the men. 2 of them, both in black suits, one on either side of the driveway. The one on the left had the earpiece. The one on the right had the earpiece and the shoulder holster she could see, because his jacket was open 1 button too many. She did not think he had left it open by accident. She stopped the car 10 feet short of the gate. She rolled the window down. Cool morning air came in. The dashboard clock said 7:56. The man with the visible holster walked to her window. He did not hurry. He did not smile. He was tall and broad in the shoulders, and moved the way large men move when they have been trained not to waste any of it. He bent slightly at the waist and put one hand on the roof of her car and looked in. His eyes went to Maya. Then his eyes went to the back seat. Then his eyes stopped. He looked at Zoe for 1 full second. Zoe looked back at him and lifted the red car and held it up between them like a badge. "Race?" Zoe said. The man did not answer. He straightened. He turned his head slightly and touched the earpiece with 2 fingers. He said something in Korean that Maya did not understand. He listened. He said 1 more word. He dropped his hand. He looked at Maya. "Dr. Bennett." "Yes. You brought a child." "I did. That is not on the schedule." "I know." He looked past her at Zoe again. Zoe was still holding up the red car. Zoe had decided he was a racetrack official, and she was showing him her vehicle for inspection. He did not move his face. He touched the earpiece again. He said 3 words in Korean. He listened for 11 seconds. Maya counted them. He said 1 word back. He dropped his hand. He stepped away from the car. The gate began to open. It moved slowly, the way expensive gates move to remind you that money owns time. He leaned back down to her window before she pulled forward. "Ma'am." "Yes." "The child stays with you every second. She does not walk alone in this house. She does not touch a door. She does not speak to anyone but you, unless I speak to her first. Do you understand?" "I understand." "Drive to the second turn. Park where the gravel changes color." "Okay." He straightened 1 more time and looked at Zoe 1 more time and said, in English now, low and even, "Nice car." Zoe beamed. The gate finished opening. Maya put the sedan in drive and rolled through, and behind her the ink-black iron began to close, and she watched it in her mirror until it clicked shut, and then she looked at her daughter, and her daughter was already back to coloring, humming a small tuneless song, safe in the bubble 5-year-olds carry with them, into rooms that adults would not survive. Maya's hands were tight on the wheel again. She loosened them before Zoe looked up. The gravel changed color at the second turn, exactly where the man had said it would. A strip of pale, crushed limestone gave way to a strip darker and finer, the kind of gravel that cost more per pound than most tile. Maya rolled the sedan onto it and killed the engine. The silence that followed was the silence of a property that had bought its own quiet. No traffic, no dogs. A single sprinkler somewhere far to the left, ticking against a hedge. Maya sat for 3 seconds with both hands on the wheel, then she turned in her seat. "Big girl mode," she said. "Starting now." Zoe closed the coloring book. Zoe put the crayon back in the pouch. Zoe held up the red car for permission. Maya nodded once. Zoe slipped the car into the pocket of her overalls, pressed the flap flat with her palm, and gave her mother the small, serious nod that had ended half a dozen mornings just like this one. Maya got out and opened the back door. Zoe hopped down. LED soles blinked twice against dark gravel and went still. Maya reached back for the deep olive bag. She hooked it over her shoulder. She took her daughter's hand. She walked toward a door she had not yet seen, in a house that had not yet been announced to anyone else on its own grounds. At 8:04 in the morning of the first day her life would begin to be a different life. She did not know that yet. Zoe did not know that yet. The door was up ahead. The door was black lacquer with a brass handle shaped like a crane's neck, and it opened before Maya's hand touched it. Another suited man stood on the other side, one arm across his chest, the other loose at his hip. He looked at Zoe. Then he looked at Maya. Then he looked past both of them, into some middle distance where instructions apparently lived. The child was not on the schedule. "I know." Mr. Han authorized her at the gate. "I know." His eyes flicked once toward Zoe's sneakers, the small red flash of the toy car in her fist, then back up. He stepped aside without a word. Maya walked in first. Zoe followed with her free hand curled into the back pocket of Maya's slacks. The foyer was 2 stories tall and colder than the outside air. White marble on the floor with veins the color of ash. A staircase that curved along the far wall in a slow ribbon. No paintings, no flowers, no photographs of anyone. The only ornament in the entire room was a single porcelain vase on a black lacquer stand, empty, holding nothing but its own weight. Ash was already inside. He must have come through another door, because he was standing near the base of the stairs, with his hands folded in front of him, and his earpiece silent. Maya had not heard him come in. She filed that away with the other things she had filed away that morning. "This way." He turned toward a hallway that ran off the foyer toward the back of the house. Maya followed. Zoe followed Maya. Their footsteps did not echo on the marble. The marble ate the sound. The hallway ended at an antechamber, a small square room with 2 chairs upholstered in gray silk, and a low table between them. There was a second door beyond that one, closed, matte finished, wide enough for a wheelchair to pass through without touching the frame. Ash stopped at the entrance to the antechamber and turned. "You wait here." "For what?" "For me to talk to you before you go in." Maya stopped. Zoe stopped a half-second later, watching the adults the way children watch tennis. "You have 5 minutes on the clock for the intake," Ash said. "You do not have 5 minutes to argue with me, so sit." Maya did not sit. She set the deep olive bag down on one of the chairs. That was the closest she was willing to go to sitting. "Say what you need to say." Ash's face did not move, but something in the set of his shoulders did. He was not used to people who did not sit. "The patient has not permitted a physician inside that room in 4 months. He will not permit you either. You will do the intake from the doorway. You will not cross the threshold. You will not touch him. You will not raise your voice. You will not use the word progress. You will not use the word goal. You will speak only if he speaks first." Maya listened. She was counting the rules on the inside of her hand with her thumb, the way she used to count medications at Vanderbilt. "And her?" Ash looked at Zoe. Zoe looked back at Ash. Neither of them blinked. "She stays in this room. She sits in that chair. She does not move. If she moves, my job becomes different. You do not want my job to become different. She's 5. I am aware." Maya crouched. She did the crouch the way she had done it 1,000 times at the clinic, low and level, meeting the child eye to eye without leaning down. "Zoe, do you hear the man?" "Yes." "What did he say?" "Sit." "That's right. Sit here, color, eat the mango, don't get up, don't touch anything. Mommy is right through that door. If mommy calls, come. If mommy doesn't call, sit, okay." Zoe considered this arrangement. She looked at the chair, then at the second door, then at Ash. The red car in her left hand rolled a quarter turn between her thumb and forefinger, an involuntary tick. "Okay." Maya opened the deep olive bag and set up a small kingdom on the low table. Coloring book, triangle crayons in a plastic pouch, the pouch of dried mango. The juice box with the straw already pushed halfway in. She uncapped the straw. She turned 2 pages in the coloring book to the fish, because Zoe always went to the fish. She set the red car next to the crayons like a paperweight. 20 minutes, she said, low. 20 minutes, Zoe repeated. Ash was watching the whole ritual with the expression of a man who had never seen it before and was not sure why he found it interesting. "Ms. Bennett, doctor." He paused. Then, in the smallest possible correction, "Dr. Bennett. The room is climate-controlled. Do not touch the curtains. Do not open the window. Do not offer him water. Water is on a schedule, and the schedule is not yours. Understood. One more thing." He stepped closer. His voice dropped, not softer, only closer. "Do not use his name." "Which name?" "Any of them." Maya nodded once. She reached for the tablet from her bag, the intake sheet already loaded on the screen. She smoothed the front of her lab coat with one hand, a gesture she did not know she did. She looked at Zoe. 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Ash turned and walked out of the antechamber the way he had come, back into the corridor, his footsteps disappearing into the marble the same way theirs had. He did not close the door behind him. That felt intentional. Maya crossed to the second door. She put her palm flat against it, feeling for the temperature of the wood. Warm. Someone had been leaning against it recently, from the other side. She did not have time to decide what that meant. She pressed the handle down. The door opened onto a room that had been dark for a long time. The curtains were drawn, heavy raw silk in a color between charcoal and bruise, and behind them the windows were also shuttered, so that the light in the room came only from a single low lamp on a table on the far side of the bed, and from the thin white line under the shutters, where the morning was trying to get in and failing. The air did not smell like a sick room. It smelled like cold cedar and clean linen and, faintly, under that, like something metallic, Gun oil, she thought, and then made herself unthink it. She saw the wheelchair first, because that was what he wanted her to see first. It sat in the corner near the door, angled toward the room, matte black carbon fiber with the wheels turned slightly out, deliberately staged the way a chair is staged when its owner wants a visitor to know exactly what they are walking into. She logged it and moved on. The bed was against the far wall. He was on top of the sheets, not under them, propped against the headboard with two pillows, one shoulder higher than the other, one leg slightly bent at the knee, and the other perfectly straight. The perfectly straight one was the one that did not know it was straight. She kept her feet on the threshold, as instructed. She could see him well enough from there. The black shirt with the sleeves folded to the forearms, the koi tattoo climbing the left side of his neck out from under the collar, the hands on the sheets, palms down, motionless in a way that motionless people are not. His motionless was a decision, not an absence. He did not look at her when she came in. "Dr. Bennett," she said, low. He did not answer. She waited a count of 5. She had been trained to wait a count of 5 before pushing anything. On 6, she said, "I'm going to do the intake from where I'm standing. You will not have to speak unless you choose to. If you would like me to leave, say the word, leave, and I will." He turned his head, slowly, and looked at her. The eyes were what she had not been prepared for. The file had said 37, and the file had been telling a technical truth and a much larger lie. The eyes were older. They were the eyes of a man who had spent 3 years measuring the ceiling of a room and knew the ceiling better than he knew the faces of the people who had come and gone under it. They were not hostile. Hostility would have been a relief. They were tired in a way that had nothing left to prove. He looked at her for a long second. She felt the intake evaluation being turned around and performed on herself. "Leave," he said. His voice was low and even and did not rise at the end. He was not asking. Maya took one breath in through her nose. She held it. She let it out. "All right." She turned. She did not slam the door, did not make a point, did not say another word. She stepped back into the antechamber and pulled the door quietly to behind her. She let the handle click. The chair by the low table was empty. The coloring book was open to the fish. The red car was on top of the crayon pouch. The juice box was upright and untouched. The chair was empty. Maya's stomach dropped a full floor. She looked at the corridor door, closed. She looked at the second door, closed, behind her, just clicked. She looked at the antechamber floor, nothing. She looked at the low table, nothing. She looked, again, at the door she had just closed. The door she had just closed had a gap under it wide enough for a small foot. "Zoe." She said it as a fact, not a question, and her hand was already back on the handle. She had not heard the door open the first time, when Ash had let her out into the corridor. She had not heard Ash come in through it either. This house was built to eat sound. A 5-year-old in soft-soled sneakers could open a door in this house, and no one on the other side would know. Maya pushed the door back open. Zoe was standing 3 steps into the dark bedroom, with her hands at her sides, and the red car in her left fist, and her butter-yellow overalls glowing softly in the strip of lamplight. She was looking at the bed. She was not moving. Taehyun was looking at Zoe. His head had turned all the way toward the door. The tired had gone out of his face, and something else had come in. Not surprise, exactly. A calculation. The way a man looks at a variable he did not know was in the equation. "Zoe." Maya said it low. She did not step in. She was aware, all the way down to the soles of her feet, that she was standing on the threshold of a room in which she had just been told to leave, and that a 5-year-old child of hers was on the wrong side of that threshold, and that the man in the bed was, according to every piece of documentation she had read, a person whose presence armed men managed for a living. Zoe did not turn. "Zoe, come here." Zoe did not turn. She took one more step into the room. Her LED souls blinked once, a small pulse of red and white against the dark rug. and then went dark again as she planted her weight. She looked at the man in the bed. She looked at the wheelchair in the corner. She looked back at the man. Taehyun's hand on the sheet moved for the first time. It was not much. The index finger lifted a quarter of an inch and set back down. But Maya, who had watched nonverbal SCI patients for 11 years, saw it and knew what it meant. It was the movement of a man deciding whether to speak. He spoke. "Get out." He said it in English. He said it low. He said it to the child. Zoe considered him. The consideration was not fear and it was not defiance. It was the flat, unblinking assessment that 5-year-olds give to weather, to strangers, to dogs of unknown temperament. She was gathering information. She was not yet done gathering. Maya moved, 2 steps in, on the balls of her feet, one hand out toward Zoe's shoulder. "I'm sorry. She got past me. She won't." "Wait." He said it to Maya. It was the first thing he had said to Maya since leave. His voice had not changed, but something under his voice had. Maya froze with her hand 2 inches from her daughter's shoulder. Zoe took one more step, then she stopped. She was now closer to the bed than to the door. She was closer to the wheelchair than to her mother. She looked at the man's straight leg on top of the sheet, and then she looked at the wheelchair, and then she looked at the man's face, and Maya watched, in real time, a 5-year-old put 3 pieces together and arrive at the shape of a whole picture. "Are you the tired man?" Zoe said. Maya's breath stopped in her chest. Taehyun did not answer. Zoe waited. Then, satisfied that the answer she had gotten was in fact an answer, she nodded once, small, to herself. She looked at the wheelchair in the corner. She looked at the red car in her left hand. She lifted the red car and held it up, level with her chin, so that he could see it from the bed. "Mine is faster," she said. The room did not move for one long second. Maya had time, in that 1 second, to catalog every reason she was about to lose this contract, this fee, her license, and possibly the rest of the morning. She had time to see her daughter standing 3 feet from a man who had refused 7 physicians and gone 11 months without speaking. She had time to notice that the man in the bed was, for the first time since she had walked in, looking at something in his own room instead of past it. She had time to see the second finger on his hand lift and set back down. "Zoe," she said, very softly, "come to mommy." Zoe did not come. "It has lights," Zoe said, to the man in the bed, and she pressed the little red car once against her palm so that the tiny LED in its underside flickered, a red pulse in the dark room. "See?" Taehyun's eyes went, slowly, from the child's face to the little red car and back to the child's face. Maya's tablet was still in her right hand. She had, without noticing, lowered it to her hip. Her intake sheet was still open on the screen, cursor blinking in an empty field. Behind her, in the corridor, she heard the sound she had been afraid of hearing. Footsteps, Ash's footsteps, coming back down the marble, faster now, because he had heard something on his earpiece that had made him move. She did not turn around. She was watching the man in the bed watch her child, and her child watch the man in the bed, and she understood, in a way she had not understood at the gate, at 8:04 a.m., in the antechamber, or on the threshold, that she was not going to be able to walk out of this house at the end of the day and leave whatever was starting to happen in this room behind her. The door opened at her back. "Dr. Bennett." Ash's voice, quiet, close, not a question. Maya did not turn. "1 second," she said. "Dr. Bennett, step out of the room. 1 second." Zoe, still holding up the red car, tilted her head at the man in the bed with the mild, patient interest of a child waiting for an adult to catch up to a very simple sentence. Ash's hand closed lightly on Maya's elbow. He did not squeeze. He did not pull. The contact was information. "I am here. I could remove you. I am choosing not to yet. Dr. Bennett. 1 second." You do not have 1 second. Maya turned her head half an inch, just enough that Ash could see her mouth. Look at his hand. Ash looked. Ash was trained to look. Ash saw what Maya had seen, the second finger, and now a third, lifting and setting back down on the sheet in a slow, deliberate cadence. Not a spasm, not a tick. The movement of a man who was doing something on purpose because a small child in yellow overalls had put a red car in his line of sight and refused to leave. Ash's hand did not come off Maya's elbow, but it stopped being a warning. How long has he been able to do that? Maya said, very quietly. Ash did not answer. How long? I do not know. Somebody knows. Nobody knows. Zoe took one more step. She was now within arm's reach of the bed, if the man in the bed had had an arm's reach worth reaching with. She did not put her hand on the sheet. She did not climb up, she only stood there, red car held up at chin height, small round afro puffs catching the strip of lamplight along their edges, coral pink bows going pink and then dark and then pink again as she rocked, very slightly, on her heels. The man in the bed looked at the child for a long, unmeasured stretch of time. Then his mouth moved. It was not a word. It was the shape a word makes before it becomes a word. His lips parted a quarter of an inch and closed and parted again, and the tendon in his jaw tightened once, and Maya, who had watched 11 months of clinical notes on this patient, add up to the single line, no verbal engagement, felt the intake sheet in her hand become the wrong document for the room she was standing in. She lowered the tablet the rest of the way to her side. She did not step in. She did not step out. She stood on the threshold with her hand still hovering an inch off Zoe's shoulder blade, and let the room do what the room was doing. Somewhere in the house, deep in the walls, a clock she could not see chimed a soft single tone. 8:30. She had been inside the Seo house for 26 minutes. At the gate, at 7:56, she had believed she was going to walk into a room, run an intake, take a check, and go see her mother. On the threshold at 8:14, she had believed the man in the bed was going to say leave, and she was going to leave. At 8:30, she understood that she was not going to be leaving on time, or on schedule, or on her own terms, and that the reason she was not going to be leaving was standing 3 feet in front of her with a small red toy car held up like an offering to a wolf. Ash's grip on her elbow finally released. He took one step back. He did not leave the doorway. He did not close the door. He set himself, quietly, against the frame, and he watched, the way a man watches something he has been ordered to prevent, and now cannot bring himself to interrupt. Taehyun's eyes stayed on the child. The child's eyes stayed on him. Somewhere down the marble corridor, another door opened and closed, and a man's voice spoke a short line in Korean into an earpiece and stopped speaking. Ash's own earpiece hissed once. He touched it. He said nothing back. Maya's phone buzzed against her hip inside the pocket of her lab coat. Cedars Sinai. She did not take it out. Zoe lowered the red car, slowly, and set it down on the corner of the bedside table nearest the bed. She did not push it toward him. She did not withdraw it. She placed it there the way an adult places a business card, and she stepped back once. She looked at her mother for the first time since she had come through the door. "He is tired," she said. Maya could not answer. Zoe took her mother's hand. The man in the bed watched the child take her mother's hand. He watched the small brown fingers curl into the darker brown fingers. He watched the coral pink bows bob once as Zoe leaned her weight into her mother's hip. Then, slowly, without turning his head, without moving his shoulders, without any tell that Maya could catch in the low light, the man in the bed lifted his right hand off the sheet. He did not lift it far. He lifted it perhaps 3 inches. He held it there. He set it down on the bedside table beside the small red toy car. He left it there. He did not look at Ash. He did not look at Maya. He looked at the red car under the edge of his palm, and at nothing else, and did not speak. Ash breathed out, once, through his nose. Dr. Bennett. Yes. Come out of the room. Maya came out of the room. She kept Zoe's hand. She stepped back over the threshold onto the pale gray carpet of the antechamber, and she did not turn her back on the bed until she had cleared the doorframe. Ash closed the door behind them without a sound. He stood with his back against the closed door, and his hand still resting on the handle, and for the first time all morning his face changed. Not a smile, not a frown, a recalibration. He touched something. Yes. He has not touched anything voluntary in 14 months. Maya's mouth was very dry. 14 months. 14. Zoe leaned into Maya's leg and yawned. A small, complete, unimpressed yawn, and reached into the coloring book for the fish. Zoe colored the fish blue for exactly 90 seconds before she put the crayon down and looked at the closed door. Maya saw it happen. The child was drawing, and then the child was not drawing, and the little chest under the butter-yellow overalls rose once and held. "Baby," Maya said, low. "He is still tired," Zoe said, to the door. Ash stood with his back against that same door, palms flat on the wood behind him, and his eyes moved from the child to Maya and stayed on Maya. He was breathing through his nose. Whatever he had seen inside that room was still working through him, a grown man recalibrating in real time in front of a 5-year-old with pink bows. Maya lowered herself to Zoe's level. Her knees hit the marble. She did not look at Ash. She kept her voice inside the small circle between her mouth and her daughter's ear. "You did a good thing in there. You hear me? A real good thing. Now we sit. We color the fish. We wait for Mama to work." Zoe nodded. Then, very calmly, Zoe walked around Maya's crouched body and put her small palm flat against the door. The door was warm. Zoe had already learned that trick. "He wants his car back," Zoe said. Maya lifted her head. "Baby, no. We leave him alone now." "Mama?" Zoe turned her whole body to face her, the LED souls blinking once against the marble. "He wants to race." Ash exhaled through his teeth. It was the closest he had come to laughing in maybe a year. He caught himself on the way and pulled his face back to neutral, but the muscle at the corner of his jaw had already told the truth. "Doctor," he said. Maya stood up. "I need to make a call," Ash said. "Do not open that door. Do not knock on that door. Sit." He left through the corridor the way he had come, and this time, she heard his shoes. He was letting her hear him. That was a small kindness she was not yet ready to name. The moment he turned the corner, Zoe put her ear to the door. "Zoe, he is not making any sound. Baby, come here. He is thinking." Maya closed her hand around Zoe's wrist, gentle, and drew her back to the silk chair. The child sat. The child crossed her ankles, the way 5-year-olds do when they are pretending to be grown. The red car came out of the overall pocket, because the red car had already been given away, and this was the second red car, the one from the glove compartment, the backup. Maya had not known there was a backup. Zoe had been 3 moves ahead all morning. The clinic phone in her coat pocket buzzed a second time. Cedars Sinai. She thumbed it silent and slid it back. Meg would understand. Meg had always understood the shape of a shift you could not walk out of. Down the corridor, a door clicked. Not the patient's door. Some other door, deeper in the house. A voice in Korean, low and short, then a longer answer from Ash, then quiet. Zoe rolled the red car in a small figure 8 on her thigh. The patient's door opened. It opened from the inside. It was not a wide swing. It was maybe 8 inches. A wedge of dim air came out of the room, cedar and cold linen, and behind the wedge was nothing. No hand on the handle. No face. Just the door standing open 8 inches on its own, as if the room had exhaled. Maya stood up so fast her tablet slid off her hip. Zoe was already moving. "Zoe, Zoe, stop." The child stopped. She stopped because her mother said stop and because 5-year-olds who have been coached about mansion rules understand the difference between a game and a boundary. She stopped one step from the wedge of dim air and turned her face up to Maya with the whole question in her eyes. Maya crossed to the door. Through the 8 inches she could see the corner of the bed and the bare foot, tendons flat, and a stripe of the black shirt. She could see the wheelchair in the far corner, still angled the same way. She could not see his face. "Dr. Bennett," his voice said, from inside, rough, used. She waited. "Send the child in." Maya's palm was still flat on the wood. She did not move it. "I will not," she said. There was a pause. In that pause she heard him shift on the mattress. It was the sound of a man moving one shoulder, not two, but moving. Fabric on linen. Then close the door. "I will not do that either." She heard him breathe. Once. "Dr. Bennett, come in yourself." Ash was back in the corridor behind her, standing far enough that she understood he was giving her the choice. Maya looked down at Zoe. Zoe was watching the wedge of air like it was a television. "You stay in this chair," Maya said. "You do not move. You do not put your ear on the door. If Mr. Ash tells you to do something, you do it the first time. Yes, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. Say it again. Yes, ma'am." Maya pushed the door the rest of the way open with 2 fingers and stepped across the threshold. She left it wide behind her. That was for Zoe. That was also for herself. The bedroom was the same, and it was not. The abat-jour was still the only light, but he was sitting up, not much. 2 pillows shoved behind him, with the wrong kind of efficiency for a man who had spent 14 months not touching things. He had done that with shoulders and back and 1 flat palm braced on the mattress. She had watched 100 T7 patients do exactly that in the first 6 months. She had never watched one do it after 3 years of refusing. The red car was still on the nightstand. His right hand was resting 3 inches from it, palm down, fingers loose, like a man who has decided to let a thing lie there rather than a man who cannot pick it up. He looked at her the way he had looked at her the first time, from the eyes down. Tired, old, nothing to prove. "Race me," he said. She did not answer. She was still standing in the middle of the room, on the seam where the rug started, and her tablet was at her side, and every rule Ash had given her about the Solera was already dust behind her. "That is what she said." He tilted his head 1 degree toward the door. "To me. Race me. She said it to me, and then she left this." The 2 fingers of his right hand lifted and set down on the roof of the red car. "So," he said, "race me." Maya took 2 steps to the foot of the bed, and 1 to the side of it, and she stopped there. Not the Solera, not the mattress, a place where he had to move his eyes to keep her. "You will not be racing my daughter." "No." "Good. You will bring her every day, and I will move something new every day, and when I can sit in that chair for 1 hour without a nurse, we will roll to the end of the corridor and back, and she will bring the red car and start us." Maya heard the sentence land, and she heard herself hear it, and she heard the part of her that was a doctor at Vanderbilt 6 years ago whisper, "This is the treatment plan, and this is the treatment plan, and this is the treatment plan." She heard the mother in her say no. "Mr. CO, do not call me that. That is your name, not that one." She stood at the corner of the bed with her tablet at her side, and the abat-jour on his cheekbone, throwing half his face into copper and half into black, and she made herself say the thing that was going to be true, no matter what she wanted. "I have a contract, Clause 17. If I miss a day, I owe the full sum in 48 hours. I have $5,700. I have a mother in the Cedars cardiac ward, and a daughter whose daycare is closed until Thursday, and a landlord who does not renew leases for people who are late twice in a row." "I know. You know. I read the intake. You did not read anything. You were nonverbal for 11 months. I read it. In here." He lifted his index finger and let it settle again on the roof of the red car. Dr. Bennett, Doctorate, Vanderbilt, 1922 through 1928. Thoracic, not cervical, not lower motor. Thoracic. You have written 14 papers. 2 of them are about the T7 gap. You are the reason my uncle called this clinic. She felt the floor become very specific under her sneakers. Your uncle. Seo Jung-ho, the quiet one. He signed the retainer. Maya kept her face still. It was the same discipline she used with a family in the ICU waiting room. The information landed, and she did not let it show on her mouth. He picked you, Taehyun said. He picked you because he wants a report. He wants the report to say the man in this bed will not walk again. I have not written that report. You would not have, not yet, not for another 6 weeks. That is when the retainer runs out. He watched her put that together. He gave her the seconds. It was the first patient courtesy anyone in this house had shown her all morning. So, she said. Her voice came out quieter than she wanted. She let it. You want to work. I want the child. No. Every day. 2 hours. She sits in that chair by the window with her book. You work my legs. I do what you say. When I am upright, she starts us. No. Dr. Bennett. You do not get to trade my child for your recovery. That is not a plan. That is a hostage. She is not a hostage. She is a witness. Maya opened her mouth and closed it. A witness to what? To me trying. There it was. There was the thing he had been holding for 14 months, and it fell into the middle of the room and lay there between the wheelchair and the abat-jour and the red car, and she could not step over it because she had already stepped over 3 rules to get here. She heard Zoe cough in the antechamber, a small, deliberate cough. The child was reminding her she was there. Maya looked at the wheelchair. You want a witness because your uncle already thinks you are done. Yes. And you cannot let him think that. No, because... He did not answer. Because, if he thinks you are done, someone else takes what you have. He did not answer. Someone else has already taken it. His right hand closed, not into a fist, into the shape of a hand that has decided against a fist. The 3 fingers curled halfway, and the thumb stayed loose over them, and the muscle in his forearm under the koi ink moved once and settled. Dr. Bennett, Ash said, from the doorway. She had not heard him step in either. She would learn later that no one in this house made a sound when they walked, unless they wanted to be heard. Right now, she was still learning it. Not yet, Taehyun said, without turning his head. Ash stopped. Dr. Bennett, Taehyun said again. His voice was still rough, but it was working now. It had oil in it. Bring her tomorrow. 2 hours. I will move a new muscle. If I do not move a new muscle, you take the check for the day, and you go home, and you do not come back, and I sign the release myself. My uncle can have his report. She held her tablet against her thigh with both hands, because if she did not hold it with both hands, she was going to put it on the nightstand next to the red car, and she was not ready to put anything of hers on that nightstand. 2 hours, she said. 2 hours. She sits by the window with the book. She does not cross that rug. She does not speak unless she is spoken to. Agreed. You do not use her name. His eyes flicked. It was the first thing that surprised him. I do not know her name. Keep it that way for a week. He looked at her a long moment. Then, slowly, he inclined his head. It was not a nod. It was smaller than a nod. It was the concession of a man who has spent 37 years not conceding. Dr. Bennett. Yes. Do not let anyone in this house know she started this. Maya's stomach cooled. It cooled the way it cooled in the ICU the year she lost the 14-year-old with the shrapnel in the sternum. It was the cold that came before you understood the exact shape of the danger. Why? Because my uncle picked you for a reason. If he learns that a 5-year-old moved my hand before you did, he changes the reason. Changes it how? He picks a different doctor. That is not the whole answer. He looked at her. That is the answer you get today, he said. Ash cleared his throat, once, at the door. Bring her at 8, Tayoon said. Ash will meet you at the gate. You will not park at the second turn. You will drive to the north side. There is a service door. You will bring her through that door, and no one who does not need to see her will see her. Are we agreed? We are agreed. Dr. Bennett. What? Take the car with you. She looked at the nightstand. The red car sat in its stripe of abat-jour light, and the black shirt cuff sat 3 inches from it, and neither one moved. That car stays here, she said. She left it. She will want it back. She has another one. His eyes moved. Not much. Enough. He looked for the first time like a man who had learned something about a child he did not know. All right, he said. She backed out of the room the way she had backed out the first time. 1 step, another step, until her heels found the seam where the rug started. Ash stepped aside for her. She crossed the antechamber to Zoe. Zoe had not moved. The second red car was in her lap. The coloring book was open to the fish. The fish was still blue. The child looked up. Did he say yes? Maya crouched. She put her hands on Zoe's shoulders. She looked into the enormous dark eyes and made herself keep her voice small. He said yes. We will talk about tomorrow at home. There are rules. I know rules. Baby, these are grown rules. I know grown rules too. Ash was standing at Maya's elbow. He was carrying her tablet. She had not realized she had left it on the nightstand. It was next to the red car. He must have picked it up on the way out. He handed it back with 2 hands, the way you handed a scalpel back in an OR. Dr. Bennett, he said, there is one more thing. Yes, when you come tomorrow, you do not tell anyone in your clinic where you are going. I already do not. Not Dr. Marchetti. Maya's hand paused on Zoe's shoulder. Especially not Dr. Marchetti. She looked up at him. Why? That is the answer you get today, he said, and it was the second time in 10 minutes that a CO man had used that exact sentence, and she understood, with the same cold that had cooled her stomach 2 minutes ago, that these 2 men had rehearsed this handoff. Ash walked her and Zoe back through the corridor and the foyer and out to the gravel. The second guard held the door. He did not look at Zoe this time. He was not allowed to. That was already a house rule, and Maya had not been in the house 3 hours. At the second turn, where the gravel changed color, she buckled Zoe into the booster. Zoe was already asleep by the time the belt clicked. 5-year-olds and adrenaline. Maya sat in the driver's seat with the key in her lap. She did not start the car. She looked at the mansion in the rear view. 2nd floor, 3rd window from the left, curtain drawn. Behind that curtain, a man who had not moved a finger for 14 months had just used her daughter as a fulcrum, told her not to trust the one coworker she almost trusted, and done it the same morning his uncle had picked her for reasons that had nothing to do with recovery. Her phone buzzed. Cedars-Sinai. 3rd call. She answered. Baby, Meg said, tired, warm, alive. Where you at? Bel Air, Mama. With the man. With the man. You okay? Maya looked in the rear view at Zoe's sleeping face, at the coral pink bows crushed against the headrest, at the LED soul blinking slow against the floor mat. Mama, she said, I took her in with me. Meg was quiet for 1 beat. You did what you had to do. Mama, he saw her. Baby. He talked to her. He asked for her. The line breathed. Meg was in a bed with a monitor beeping somewhere behind her, and she was breathing, and she was thinking. Then you bring her home to me tonight, Meg said. You bring her home, and you sit with me, and you tell me every word that man said, because that man just told you something, and you do not know it yet. I know some of it. Baby, you know none of it. Maya put the key in the ignition. She did not turn it. Mama. What? He knew my papers. He knew Vanderbilt. He knew Clause 17. Meg was quiet again. Longer this time. Then that man has been awake the whole time, Meg said. You listen to me. That man has been awake the whole time, and somebody in that house does not know it yet. Maya turned the key. The car started on the first try, the way it always did, even at 94,000 miles, because it was the one thing in her life that had never failed her at a bad moment. She rolled slow down the gravel. Ash was standing at the closed gate. He was watching her come. He put his hand on the panel and the gate opened before she reached it, and he did not look at her as she passed. She looked at him, once, in the side mirror. He was looking at the second floor. Third window from the left. The curtain was open now. She had not seen it open. It was open, and behind it, in the dim, she could see the outline of a man sitting up in a bed, watching her leave. He raised his hand. Not much. 3 inches. He set it down. Maya drove past the gate and did not stop until sunset. 2 weeks in, Maya could tell the day by the light in the north driveway. Fridays came in sharp and gold, because the gardeners cleared the jacarandas before 8. That Friday was gold. She parked where Ash had told her to park on day 2, the third slot from the wall, the one with the paint mark only the drivers could see. She killed the engine. She sat there for a second with her hand on the key. Zoe was already talking to the car seat about the plan. The plan was the same plan every day. The plan was the second red car in her pocket, the peach juice box in the side compartment, the coloring book with the fish already colored twice through. The plan was 2 hours in the window chair, and no crossing the rug. The plan was that Snow Wolf would move something new today, because Snow Wolf had moved something new yesterday, and every day for 14 days now, one muscle at a time, small enough that the house nurse did not see it, and large enough that Maya wrote it down in a note on her phone with no title. Ash had stopped meeting them at the gate on day 4. Now he met them at the service door, the plain white one with the keypad, and the camera turned 2 degrees off-center. He was already inside the doorway when Maya lifted Zoe out. He was wearing the same slim black suit he always wore, and Maya had stopped noticing his shoulder holster the way you stop noticing a ring on your own hand. He slept, Ash said. That was the report every morning. 2 words, most days, some days 3. Good. Better than good. He asked for coffee. Maya stopped with her hand on Zoe's shoulder. Out loud? Out loud? Zoe looked up. She did not know what the words meant, but she knew the shape of a big thing when the adults went quiet around it. She held her red car in her left hand, and her mother's finger in her right, and waited for the door to open. The morning went the way it went. 2 hours in the window chair for Zoe. Intake from the threshold for Maya, then across the rug once Taehyun said the one word he said now, which was her name. He was on the low bench today, not the bed. He had transferred himself with the strap and the frame, and the strap was still in his hand when she came in, because he wanted her to see him holding it. He did not say hello. He said, left shoulder is loud. That meant the trapezius was firing when it should not have been, and it meant she had 2 hours to quiet it before he tried the parallel bars again. She said, then we go slow. He said, we always go slow. Zoe colored the fish. The house held its breath the way it always held its breath now, and the breath was easier than it had been on day 1. Nothing happened that day that had not happened the day before. That was the whole point. 14 days of nothing happening and everything moving. 10:22. Maya folded her stethoscope into the deep olive bag, kissed Zoe on the crown between the 2 puffs, and told her to gather the crayons in the pouch and not to leave the second red car on the sill. Zoe pointed out that the second red car lived in her overall pocket now and only came out for the drive home. Maya said good. Ash walked them to the service door without a word. He opened it, glanced at the driveway once, glanced at the roof of the neighboring compound twice, and stepped aside. Doctor. Ash. Tomorrow, 7:45. 15 minutes earlier. 15 minutes earlier. He did not say why. Maya did not ask why. That was the new grammar of the house. She had Zoe by the hand when she came around the front of her car. She had the deep olive bag on her right shoulder and the keys already in her palm, and she was thinking about the milk on the fridge shelf and whether the Cedars call had come through to Meg's ward yet, and she saw him before he moved, because a man that size does not stand next to your car without shifting the geometry of the whole driveway. He was leaning on the driver's side door. His arms were folded, the trench was beige and the hem was worn, and the plaid under it was blue that had been washed too many times. He had a badge on a chain against his chest, and the chain had come untucked. His hair was gray at the temples and the rest was rust. His eyes were the color of the ocean out past Malibu when the marine layer sits low. He was looking at Zoe. "Dr. Bennett," he said. It was not a question. Maya squeezed Zoe's hand once, which was code, and Zoe stepped behind her leg without being told. The tiny hand held onto the fabric of Maya's slacks. "You are on private property," Maya said. "I know. You need to move." "I know that too." He held his hands up an inch from his chest, palms out, a slow gesture built for people who had a reason to keep their hands ready. Detective Ray Callahan, lapped, on loan to a joint. "I am not here to arrest you, and I am not here to serve you. I am here for 4 minutes. Then I go." The service door was 30 feet behind her. Ash was on the other side of it. She could feel him there without turning around, because Ash was always on the other side of a door she had just walked through. 4 minutes, she said. Callahan reached slowly to his inside pocket. He watched her hand while he did it, which meant he knew she had her phone in it, and he knew she could dial the gate. He came out with a manila envelope folded in thirds. He crouched, put it on the hood of her car, and stepped back 1 full step. "That is yours to keep," he said. "Open it in your kitchen, not here." "What is it?" "Photographs." "Of what?" "Of you," he said, "for the last 11 days, and of the people photographing you." She did not look at the envelope, she looked at his face. His face did not move. "Detective. Doctor. You have 3 minutes and 40 seconds. He almost smiled. It was a tired mouth. "Fair. I will use them." He glanced once at Zoe behind her leg, and his eyes softened in the corners, the way a man's eyes soften when he has kids of his own, and has not seen them in a while. He looked back at Maya. "The car bomb that put your patient in that chair," he said, "did not come from a rival family. It came from inside his own." Maya did not answer. "You already knew," Callahan said, watching her. "Or you already suspected." "I did not say that." "You did not have to. I've been on the corner of Stone Canyon and Bel Air Road every morning for 11 days. I have watched you walk your daughter into that house. I have watched what happens to your face on the way in, and what happens to it on the way out. You are not surprised. You are afraid, but you are not surprised. That is a specific look, doctor. I've seen it on witnesses." Zoe's grip tightened on her mother's slacks. Maya loosened it gently with 2 fingers, because a 5-year-old with a fist full of fabric was a signal to the man watching them, and she did not want him to have that signal. "Say what you came to say." "Federal protection," Callahan said. "Not lapped federal. My joint task force can pull you and your daughter tonight. Nevada by dawn, new plates by Monday, a job at a rehab clinic outside Reno by the end of the month. Your mother is still at Cedars. We can move her within 36 hours. In exchange for information. What you have seen inside that house. What the patient has said to you. What Han Do-yoon has said to you." She did not react to Ash's real name. She had never heard it spoken by anyone but Taehyun, once, in the 3rd week, and only because a page had gone unanswered, and Taehyun had set it into the dark. She filed the fact that Callahan knew it. "I am under a non-disclosure," she said. "Both sides know that. If I sit in a federal room and open my mouth, I lose my license before I finish the first sentence." "You lose your license," Callahan said. "If you're alive to lose it, that's the arithmetic. You're going to have to be less dramatic than that, detective." "I am not being dramatic. I am being on time." He tilted his head toward the compound wall behind her. Whoever set the device that put Seo Taehyun in that chair 3 years ago is not done. Whatever they were trying to accomplish, they did not accomplish it, because he is still breathing. In fact, he is doing considerably better than breathing. Word travels. When word travels in that family, another device gets built. You do not know that. I know that the last physician who took that contract disappeared. Maya's mouth went dry. It was a small physical thing, and she did not let it show on her face. There was no last physician who took that contract. There were 7 who refused. There were 7 who refused publicly, Callahan said. There was one before them who accepted. A Dr. Han Ji-min, out of Cedars, subspecialty thoracic recovery, signed the retainer 18 months ago, worked in that house for 6 weeks, filed 1 preliminary report, did not file a second. His car was found on the shoulder of the 101 north of Ventura with the driver's door open. His body has not been found. That is not on the news because it has not been on the news. It has been sitting in a drawer on my desk for 14 months. She heard, in the pause after he stopped talking, the tick of the cooling engine of her own car. It was the loudest sound in Bel Air. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you have a child," Callahan said, "and because Dr. Han Ji-min did not." Zoe was quiet behind her leg. She had learned in 14 days when to be quiet. That was another thing Maya wrote down at night on her phone with no title. Callahan reached into the same inside pocket. This time he did not put anything on the hood. This time he held it in his hand, low, between his hip and hers, so it was invisible from the compound wall and invisible from the roof of the neighboring property. It was a black flash drive, unmarked, the size of a thumbnail. He held it out on his palm. "Take this." "What is on it?" "Everything I cannot say standing here. Names, bank routes, a recording. 1 recording." His face did not move, but something in the corner of his voice tightened. "You listen to it in a room with a door that locks and headphones that are not connected to Wi-Fi. You listen to it once, then you decide. Decide what? Whether the man in that house is a patient or a client." She did not take the drive. She looked at it. It was a very small object for the size of the thing he had put on it. "Detective," she said, "if I take that, and someone finds it on me, I do not get to Nevada, neither does she. That is why I am giving you a business card too." He reached with his free hand and pulled a plain white card out of his trench pocket, and it had 1 number on it in blue ink, handwritten. "You do not call this from your phone. You call it from a payphone if you can find one, from a hotel lobby if you cannot. You say the word North. A woman answers. She sends a car in 12 minutes. I picked 12 because it takes 10 to walk from your apartment to the Chevron, and I wanted 2 minutes for you to see the car coming. You've been to my apartment. I've been to the sidewalk in front of it. I have not been up the stairs. I would not do that." She almost believed him. She had spent enough time in the last 2 weeks reading the face of a man who kept everything locked behind his eyes to be able to read the face of a man who was trying to look honest. Callahan was trying to look honest, and, worse than that, he might actually be honest, which meant she was in more trouble than she had been 15 seconds ago. She took the drive, she palmed it, she slid it into the inside pocket of the deep olive bag, the one with the zipper, the same pocket that had held the beige folder with clause 17 14 days ago. She did not take the card. She read the number twice, moving her lips a 1/4 inch, memorizing. Then she nodded at his hand. "Put it back," she said. Callahan looked at her for a long second. He put the card back in his pocket. "You are going to be all right, doctor." "You don't know that." "No," he agreed. "I don't." He turned to go. He got 2 steps and then he stopped. And he did not turn all the way around. He just tilted his head a fraction, so his voice would carry back to her. "There is one more thing. Detective. Han Do-yoon knows I'm here. He has known since I parked. He has not opened that door." Maya kept her face very still. "That is either very good news for you," Callahan said, "or very bad. I have not decided which. When you have, I would appreciate a call. He walked. He did not look back. He got into a beige sedan parked 20 yards down the driveway that Maya had somehow not registered when she came out, which meant her attention had narrowed to the hood of her own car for reasons she now recognized. She watched the sedan pull away and turn left onto Stone Canyon. Then she stood there for another 6 seconds with her hand still on Zoe's shoulder and the manila envelope still on the hood. She picked up the envelope. She did not open it. She unzipped the deep olive bag, put the envelope flat against the lining, and zipped the bag closed. She lifted Zoe into the booster and clicked the strap and checked the tension twice, and Zoe let her check it twice without complaint, because Zoe knew. "Mommy?" "Yes, baby." That man was tired. Maya stopped with her hand on the buckle. "Yes, baby, he was." She closed the door. She came around the car. She sat behind the wheel and did not start the engine. She looked at the service door in the mirror. The service door opened. Ash stepped into the driveway. He did not walk toward her. He stopped 1 step past the threshold. He was carrying a bottle of water in his right hand, and his left hand was open at his side, which was the hand he never let hang open. He held her eye across the gravel. He tilted his head 1/2 an inch toward the road Callahan had used. Maya did not roll down her window. She lifted her hand off the wheel and turned her palm up in a small, deliberate gesture, and she held it there for a second. Then she put her hand back on the wheel. Ash nodded once. He turned. He went back inside. The door closed. She started the engine on the first try, the way it always started, 94,000 miles and counting. She backed out of the slot. She rolled down the driveway at the speed the driveway wanted. She turned right on Stone Canyon, not left the way Callahan had gone. She drove past 2 houses she did not see and stopped at a red light and put her forehead against the wheel for exactly 1 breath. Zoe was quiet in the back. At the light, Maya slid her hand into the inside pocket of the deep olive bag. She felt the corner of the envelope. She felt, under the envelope, the shape of the flash drive, the size of a thumbnail, warm from her palm and warmer from being carried. She thought about Dr. Han Ji-min, whose name she had never heard until 4 minutes ago, and whom she would now think about every night for the rest of her life. The light turned green. She did not move. The car behind her did not honk. Bel Air did not honk. She put her foot on the gas. She did not go home. She drove west, down out of the hills, into the flats, and she took the surface streets to Cedars-Sinai because there was one person alive who had told her 14 days ago that a man in that house had told her something she still did not know, and she had a small black object in her bag now, and she needed to sit across from her mother before she plugged it into anything. She parked in the visitor's garage on level 3. She carried Zoe on her hip because Zoe had gone quiet in a way that meant she needed to be carried. She walked past the intake desk, took the elevator to Cardiac, and did not look at the flash drive again until the elevator doors closed. In the small square of stainless steel next to the floor buttons, she caught her own reflection. She saw her mouth. She saw her mouth was set in a line she had not seen on her own face since the week her husband left. She was not tired. She was clear. She got off on Cardiac. She walked the hall to Meg's room. She did not know yet what was on the drive. She did not know yet whether the man in the bed in Bel Air was a patient or a client. She did not know yet what Han Do-yoon had chosen when he stayed on his side of the service door. She knew one thing. She knew she was going to listen to the recording. Once, tonight, in a room with a door that locked. She pushed Meg's door open with her shoulder. Meg was awake. Meg took one look at her daughter's face and said, "Sit down, baby. Tell Mama what happened." Maya set Zoe in the visitor chair. She set the deep olive bag between her feet. She sat on the edge of the hospital bed. She reached into the bag and did not take out the drive. She took out the envelope. She put it in her mother's lap. "I need you to look at these," she said, "before I decide anything." Meg looked down at the envelope. She looked up at Maya. "Baby," she said, "you already decided." Meg's fingers stayed on the envelope for a long second, and Maya watched her mother's chest lift under the hospital gown, the way it always lifted, before Meg said something she did not want to say. Then the door of the cardiac room opened without a knock, and it was not a nurse. It was Elena Marchetti. She was still in clinic scrubs, hair pulled back the way she pulled it back for chart rounds, caramel hobo bag on the shoulder like she had come straight from the parking lot. Her eyes went first to Zoe in the visitor chair, then to the envelope in Meg's lap, then to Maya. "They're looking for you at the clinic," Elena said. Her voice was even, too even. "Dr. Halpern called an emergency meeting at 11. He tried your phone." Maya slid the envelope out of Meg's lap in one motion and put it back inside the deep olive bag, the inside pocket with the zipper, the one Meg had raised her to always sew shut on cheap purses. Her hand found the pen drive as her fingers moved. The pen drive stayed where it was. "What meeting?" Maya said. "A patient complaint." Meg's eyes went half-lidded, the way they always went when she was about to read someone. She said nothing. "From who?" Maya said. Elena took one step into the room. She let the door close on its own weight behind her. She did not put down the bag. "Elena," Maya said. "From who?" "Anonymous." The word landed in Maya's ribs, the way a knuckle lands. She had heard anonymous from Elena before. 2 years ago, the disappointment Maya had promised herself she would never repeat. She kept her face flat. "What is the allegation?" "Bringing an unauthorized minor into a private residence during clinical hours." Repeated, 14 consecutive days. Elena paused. "There are photographs." Zoe looked up from the visitor chair. She did not understand the sentence, but she understood the tone the way 5-year-olds always do. She reached into the front pocket of the butter-yellow overalls and closed her fist around the second red car and did not take it out. "How did you find me here?" Maya said. "Your mother's chart." "That is a HIPAA violation. I signed in as her colleague." Elena's chin lifted a 1/4 inch. "I am her colleague." Meg made a sound that was not a laugh and was not a cough. It was the sound she made when a man used to tell her something at church that both of them knew was untrue. Elena heard it and looked at the floor tile for one heartbeat, and then looked back up. "Halpern wants you at 11, Elena said. "That is why I came. I did not have to come." "You did," Meg said, and her voice was low and slow. "You came exactly the minute you needed to be seen coming. You came so that later on you can say you came." Elena's mouth opened. Nothing left it. Maya stood up. She did not look at Elena. She kissed the top of Meg's head, the place where the gray hair pulled tightest into the bun. She took Zoe's hand. "Watch her for 2 hours, Maya said to her mother. "Baby, they'll take her from you if they see her in the room with you at that meeting." "I know." Meg's grip closed on Maya's wrist. Bird thin, still strong. "You listen to me. You do not go in that meeting angry. You go in cold. You hear me? Cold. I hear you. And you leave that bag in my closet before you go." Maya nodded. She unzipped the deep olive. She lifted out the manila envelope and the pen drive together with 2 fingers, wrapped both in a hospital hand towel from the bedside tray, and slid the bundle under the extra pillow inside the built-in wardrobe by the bathroom door. She hung the empty deep olive on the door hook. She turned back around. Zoe was already at the visitor chair with the coloring book open on her lap, humming the little 4-note tune she hummed when she was pretending not to listen. "Grandma is your job today," Maya said, squatting down. "You are her job. You stay in this room until I come back. If a lady in a blue jacket asks you a question, you say, 'Ask my grandma.'" "Blue jacket," Zoe repeated. "Blue jacket." "Or green. Or any jacket." Zoe nodded, satisfied by the completeness of the rule. She kissed Maya on the cheek. She sat back down. Elena was still by the door. "Are you driving me?" Maya said. "I can." "No." Maya walked past her without looking at her. In the corridor, she pulled her phone from the coat pocket. 3 missed calls from Halpern. one text from an unknown number that said only North. She did not answer either one. She thumbed the phone silent and pushed the elevator button and did not look at her reflection in the steel. 10:41 when she reached the clinic. 10:52 when she opened the door of the second-floor conference room. Dr. Halpern was at the head of the table in the herringbone jacket he only wore for lawyers. To his right sat a woman in a navy suit with a laminated visitor badge that said California Medical Board Investigator. To his left sat a man with a clipboard who did not introduce himself. "Dr. Bennett," Halpern said. "Sit." Maya sat. She folded her hands on the table. She kept them there. The investigator opened a folder. Inside the folder were photographs. Maya recognized them before the woman turned them around. Zoe going through the north service door of the CO residence in butter yellow overalls. Zoe again the next day. Zoe again. 14 photographs. Each one time-stamped in the corner. Each one shot from what had to be a car parked at the same angle across Stone Canyon. "Do you recognize the child?" the investigator said. "That is my daughter." "Do you recognize the residence?" "That is a private patient's residence. Contract number 378-A. "Yes." "Is the child on the intake authorization for that contract?" "No." The investigator did not look up. She was writing. "Dr. Bennett, are you aware that a minor is prohibited from being on the premises of a private clinical engagement unless explicitly authorized in writing by the contracting party and the treating physician?" "I am aware." "Then why has your daughter been photographed entering that residence for 14 consecutive workdays?" Maya heard Meg's voice in her ear, cold. She kept her hands on the table. "Because the patient requested it." Halpern's chin came up. "In writing," the investigator said. "Verbally. And you have record of that verbal request." "I do not." Silence. The man with the clipboard wrote something. The investigator finally looked up. Her eyes were tired and not unkind. "Dr. Bennett, we received a formal complaint at 8:42 this morning, anonymous, delivered by messenger to our downtown office, along with these photographs. Given the ages involved and the nature of the residence in question, the board is required to open an inquiry. Effective immediately, you are placed on administrative leave from Dr. Halpern's clinic pending the outcome." "How long?" 30 days minimum. "And the contract?" "Suspended by the clinic as of this morning. Dr. Halpern has already notified the contracting parties' counsel." Maya's spine held. It was the 30 days that held it. 30 days was longer than the 4 weeks left on the retainer. 30 days meant Taehyun had no physician of record when the report came due. 30 days meant Jung-ho got exactly what Jung-ho had paid for, on schedule, with a bow on it. She kept her hands on the table. "There is one more matter," the investigator said. She reached into the folder again. She slid a second document across. State letterhead, Department of Children and Family Services. A separate complaint was filed with DCFS at 9:17 this morning. Same anonymous source, we believe. A judge signed a temporary emergency custody order at 10:06. Maya read it. She read it again. 72-hour hold. A social worker would take physical custody of the child pending welfare assessment. Effective on service. "Where is the child now, Dr. Bennett?" Maya lifted her eyes. "With her grandmother at Cedars-Sinai. A caseworker is already at Cedars." The room did something to the light. Maya did not blink. She stood. "Am I under arrest?" "You are on administrative leave." "Then I am leaving." She walked out of the conference room, and she did not run, and she did not slow. She hit the elevator button with the side of her fist. In the elevator, she pulled the phone back on. The unknown number, North. She typed one word back, now. She hit send before she was out of the parking garage. She was on Beverly by 10:58, and she ran the yellow at San Vicente, and she took the emergency lane on the ramp back into Cedars, and she left the car half on the curb of the visitor lot. She was still 6 floors below Meg's room when her phone rang. Meg's cell. Baby, they are here already. Two of them, a woman and a man. They asked me to hand her over. I said not without her mother. 2 minutes, Mama. Take 3. Maya took the stairs. On the 4th floor landing, her thigh cramped, and she kept going. She hit the cardiac corridor at a walk that was not quite a walk. The door of Meg's room was open. A woman in a khaki blazer stood at the foot of the bed with a laminated ID and a clipboard. A man in a wrinkled polo stood by the window. Zoe was on the bed with Meg now, tucked under Meg's arm, the coloring book closed on her lap, the second red car in her fist. Dr. Bennett, the woman said. I am Denise Ortiz, DCFS. This is my colleague. We have a signed order. I know. We can do this the easy way. I know. Maya walked to the bed. She did not look at Ortiz. She sat on the edge of the mattress next to Zoe, and she took Zoe's face in both hands. Baby. Mama. Some ladies are going to take you somewhere for a few days. Zoe's eyes did not leave hers. They are going to ask you a lot of questions. You are going to say the truth to everyone. You are going to say, I love my mama, and I love my grandma. You are going to say the tired man never touched me. You are going to say the ladies were nice. You are going to hold that car. Both cars? Both cars. Zoe reached into the front pocket of the butter yellow overalls and produced the second red car. She held it up next to the one already in her fist. 2 cars. She looked at her mother. Mama? Yes. You come get me. 3 days. Promise. Maya did not answer. She kissed Zoe on the forehead, then on both cheeks, then on the top of the crown of her hair between the 2 afro puffs, where the coral bows were still tied from that morning. She stood up. She lifted Zoe off the bed, and she handed her to Denise Ortiz herself, so that no one else would have to lift her. Ortiz took her carefully. She was good at her job. Maya could tell she was good at her job by the way she took her. At the door, Zoe turned in Ortiz's arms and lifted the 2 red cars in one small fist above the woman's shoulder and held them up. She did not cry. She held them up like a signal. The door closed. Meg let out one breath. Sit down before you fall down, Meg said. Maya sat. She did not fall down. What she did was reach past her mother into the wardrobe and pull the hand towel out from under the pillow and unwrap the pen drive. She turned it over in her hand once. She put it back inside the towel. She put the towel back under the pillow. Mama, baby, I have to go back to that house. I know. The contract is suspended. I know. Ash will still let me in. Then go. Meg's hand shot out and closed on Maya's forearm, and the grip was so hard it left a print. But baby, you listen. Whatever is on that stick, you do not play it in that house until you know where the uncle is standing when it plays. You hear me. I hear you. Because if he is in the room, you are dead in the room. I hear you. Then Meg's face changed. It was the way her mouth went first. The color went out of the lower lip. Her right hand let go of Maya's arm and went up to the center of her chest and stayed there, flat, like she was pressing a lid down on a pot. Her eyes went wide and stayed wide. Mama. Meg did not answer. Her left shoulder rolled forward. Mama. Maya slammed the call button with her palm. She was on the bed with both hands under Meg's shoulders, and she was talking low and steady, the way she talked to her patients when she was buying them 90 seconds. 2 nurses were in the room in 11 seconds, a third with a crash cart in 19, the cardiac fellow at 26. Maya stepped back against the wall. She did not sit. She did not blink. She watched them work. She watched the monitor throw a green line into a shape she had seen too many times in textbooks and twice in real life, and she watched them pull it back. She watched Meg's mouth get color again. She watched her mother's eyes find hers across the shoulder of a nurse. She watched Meg's lips form the shape of the word, go. Maya did not go. Not yet. She waited until the fellow said stable. She waited until they moved Meg to the wheeled bed for the cath lab. She walked beside the bed as far as the elevator doors. At the elevator, Meg's hand came out of the sheet and closed around her wrist one more time. Go get her. After you. Before me. Go now. That house is going to blow before you get there. Go now. The doors closed on her mother. Maya was in the parking lot at 11:49. At 11:52, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without speaking. North, Callahan said. They took her. I know. They took my mother into the cath lab. I heard the code overhead. You are in the building. Second floor cafeteria. I have been here since 10. Where are you going? Bel Air. Do not go. I am going. Dr. Bennett, listen to me. The contract is suspended. The old man is going to have people at that gate within the hour, if he does not already. Do not go. Ash will let me in. Ash has orders too. Just because he was on your side yesterday does not mean he is on your side today with the paper the old man is holding right now. Do you understand me? Do not go. She hung up. She drove. She took the 405 north, and she did not speed, and she did not weave, and she took the Sunset exit, and she went east, and she pulled off Stone Canyon, and she took the small, unmarked road that ran up behind the North Service Gate. Ash was at the gate. He was already there. He was in the black suit and the tactical gloves and the earpiece, and his face was closed the way it had been closed the first morning she had seen him. He held up one palm as her car rolled to a stop. She rolled the window down. Dr. Bennett. He knows. He knows. How much? All of it. She swallowed once. She kept her voice level. Where is he? Downstairs. He wants Taehyun in the study by 1. Taehyun does not go downstairs. That is what I said. What did he say to that? Ash's eyes moved to the second floor of the house behind him and back to Maya, and he did something with his jaw that she had never seen him do. He is having lunch brought up. There was a sound then from the second floor. It came through the closed window of the third window from the left, muffled by 2 panes of glass and 30 yards of gravel. It was not a shout, and it was not a word. It was the sound of a body doing a thing a body was not supposed to be able to do anymore. It was the sound of a heavy piece of matte black carbon fiber slamming sideways into a wall. It was the sound of the wall giving. It came once, and then again, and then a third time, in a rhythm that was not rage as decoration. It was rage as work. Ash did not turn his head to it. He heard about the child 10 minutes ago, Ash said. He heard about your mother 8 minutes ago. He heard about the doctor from Marchetti's building 11 minutes ago. He has been in that chair for 6 of those minutes. Maya's hands were still on the steering wheel. In the chair, under his own power. First time in 3 years. The sound came again from the second floor, this time a lower thud, closer to the wall by the third window. Then a stillness. Ash pressed the earpiece with 2 fingers, listened, nodded once. He is asking for you. I have no daughter with me today. He knows. I have no contract today. He knows. Then what am I? Ash looked at her through the open window for 1 full second before he answered. She saw for the first time that his eyes were the same tired as Taehyun's eyes had been the first morning, and she understood at last that they had been carrying the same weight the whole time from different sides of the same room. Today, Ash said, you are the only person on the property he trusts. Get out of the car. Maya killed the engine. Her hand was on the door latch when her phone lit up on the passenger seat with a text from an unknown number, not Callahan's. She read it without picking the phone up. The message was 5 words. The old man is coming. Maya read the 5 words a second time and killed the screen against her thigh. Ash was already at the passenger window, one gloved knuckle tapping the glass, then his palm flat against it. Move, now. She moved. The service door was propped with a folded towel so the latch would not click. Ash pulled it shut behind her the same way, palm and thumb, silent. The staff corridor smelled of bleach and something metallic under it. Two men in dark suits stood at the far end with their backs turned, deliberately, so they could later say they had not seen her pass. "Study is at the west end," Ash said, low. "He is holding it for 1 o'clock. That gives us 52 minutes. He is holding what?" "The house." They took the back stairs. On the landing, Ash stopped her with 2 fingers on her sleeve. He tilted his head at the ceiling. A soft, steady sound was traveling through the floor above them. Wheel on wood, wheel on rug, wheel on wood again. Someone rolling the length of a corridor, then back, then the length again. "He has been doing that for 11 minutes, Ash said. "He will not stop until you are in the room." On the second floor, Ash unlocked a service door Maya had never seen. A panel disguised as wainscoting. It opened into a linen closet, and the linen closet opened into the anteroom she knew. From there, into the bedroom. Taehyun was in the chair. Not on the bed watching the chair from 10 feet away. In it. His hands on the push rims, breath even, sweat along his hairline, the black shirt open at the throat where he had pulled the top button loose to breathe. The red toy car sat in the tray between his knees. He rolled once toward her, and stopped with the wheels an inch from her shoes. "Where is she?" "Custody," Maya said. 72 hours. "Where is your mother?" "Cath lab, stable." He absorbed both facts the way a man absorbs a dosage. No movement in his face. His right hand came off the rim and lifted the red car from the tray. He turned it once, slowly, in his palm. "The drive," he said. "In her hospital room, under the extra pillow. Callahan. He is in the cafeteria." Taehyun looked at Ash. Ash nodded once. Taehyun set the car back on the tray and rolled to the desk under the window. He opened the top drawer with a movement Maya had watched him fail to make 3 weeks ago, and pulled out a slim black laptop, a set of wired earbuds, and a second thumb drive, identical to the one in Meg's room. "He gave me a copy the morning of the 2nd week," he said, not turning. "I have not listened to it." "Why?" "Because I wanted to be wrong." He set the laptop on the low dresser near the bed and rolled back to give her the seat. Maya sat. Ash closed the bedroom door and stood with his back against it, one hand near the holster, the other free. Taehyun handed her the earbuds. "Both of you," he said. "I want a witness for what I hear." She split the buds. He took the left, she took the right, and their heads came within a foot of each other over the small screen. She could smell cedar and clean cotton and the faint, familiar note of gun oil that had been in the room the first morning, and now she understood it, and it did not scare her anymore. The file was 38 seconds long. She pressed play. Ambient hiss. A car engine, idling. Traffic in the middle distance. Then a voice she had never heard, dry and unhurried, speaking in Korean. A pause. A second voice. Younger, urgent, protesting in Korean. The word, appa, audible twice. The first voice again, 3 sentences, ending in a single word delivered like a period. A third voice, further away, confirmed. The line went dead. Ash's face did not change, but the muscle along his jaw locked. Taehyun sat perfectly still. Maya waited. "Play it again," he said. She played it again. The third time, he took the bud out of his ear and set it on the dresser. He put both hands on the rims of the chair. He rolled 6 inches away from the machine, and then 6 inches back, and then he stopped. "That is my uncle," he said, ordering the driver to detonate the vehicle. Maya said nothing. "The second voice is my brother, Ji-won. He is in the car. He has just seen the driver reach for the switch. He is calling my uncle by the family name. He is asking him not to." She could hear the small, wet sound of his throat closing and opening. "My uncle tells the driver that the timing is correct. He tells him to proceed. My brother says the family word for father. My uncle says the word for now." The room held. "I was in the second vehicle," he said, 15 meters behind. "I saw the roof lift. I did not know until this morning that Jiwon had been moved into the lead car 20 minutes before the trigger. I was told he had gone home. He looked at Ash. Ash was already nodding. He had known. He had known for months, and the knowing had bent his spine into whatever shape it now held. Dr. Bennett, Taehyun said, and it was the first time he had used her title with weight behind it. The retainer your clinic signed was not for treatment, it was for a signature. He needed a subspecialist in T7 recovery to write, on a Cedar's letterhead, that I was medically incapable of resuming any executive function. That document goes in front of 5 men at the end of 6 weeks, and my uncle inherits the house. He picked you because your 2 papers on the T7 gap make you the only person in Los Angeles whose signature ends the argument before it starts. Maya heard her own voice from far away. The first doctor. Han Ji-min refused to sign what he was asked to sign. And the 7 who came after refused the room. And me. He assumed the daughter of a widow with a heart on a wire would sign anything for a check. The sentence sat between them for 4 seconds. Maya did not answer it. She reached up and closed the laptop. He miscalculated one thing, Taehyun said. The child. He did not know I was awake. He did not know a 5-year-old would put a red car on my nightstand and dare me to race her. He rolled a quarter turn toward the window. Every day for 14 days he received a report from someone inside this house that I was declining. He believed the reports because he has been reading reports about me for 3 years, and they have all been true. Who was reporting? A woman named Marchetti passed the notes through her building manager to a driver who works Sundays for my uncle. The driver dropped envelopes at a laundry on Wilshire twice a week. Maya let out one small sound, not quite a laugh. She thought she was helping a rival clinic take a contract, Taehyun said. She did not know what she was feeding. She fed enough. She fed enough for him to move today. Ash spoke then, for the first time since the door closed. The board complaint was drafted from language only Marchetti used in her deposition 17 months ago on the Han Ji-min missing person case. Callahan matched the phrasing this morning. He has the file on his phone. Custody, Maya said. Overturned by 4 o'clock if we move now. Move how? Taehyun rolled to the closet. He pulled a dark suit jacket off a hanger with his right hand and dropped it into his lap. Then a black tie, folded. Then a leather case the length of a forearm that Maya did not ask about and did not need to. My uncle is expecting me in the study at 1, he said. He is expecting me to be carried. He is expecting me to sit across from him in a chair someone else pushed, and to hear him tell me, gently, that it is time. He wants me to nod. He wants a witness in the room, one of the 5, so that the nod is remembered. He looked at her. I am not going to the study. Where? The gallery. Ash finally moved off the door. He crossed the room and lifted the leather case from Taehyun's lap without opening it, and set it on the bed. Seo Fine Arts opens for the members' preview at 2, Ash said. All 5 chiefs will be there because my uncle asked for them to be there. He wanted them to see him greet the new head of the family in public after the study meeting. He wanted the succession to look like a gift, not a coup. He will be there. He will be there. Maya looked at Taehyun. You cannot drive. I can drive. When did you? The van in the north garage has hand controls. They have been there for 3 years. I made the mechanic install them the week I came home. I have not used them until this morning. He paused. I used them at 9:42. I drove to the end of the property road and back. Ash was in the passenger seat. Ash nodded. Once. He did not stall. Callahan, Maya said. Text him the word, Taehyun said. Not on the phone in your hand. On the burner in the second drawer of the desk. He will meet us at the gallery loading dock at 1:40. He will bring the audio file certified and a signed copy of Marchetti's phrasing match. That is enough to lift the hold on the child within the hour. Maya opened the drawer. The burner was a small gray flip. She thumbed north into the message field and pressed send. The reply came in 9 seconds. Copy. Ortiz at Cedars in 20. Child in your custody by 3:15. She read it twice, and she did not cry, because there was no time and because crying was not what this moment asked of her. Taehyun rolled to the mirror on the closet door and put the jacket on with a movement Maya had never seen a T7 patient perform without help. The tie he handed to Ash, who knotted it for him without comment. Dr. Bennett, Taehyun said, you do not need to come. This is my house. I am coming. Why? Because I signed the same contract he wrote. He looked at her in the mirror. He did not smile, because his face did not do that anymore, but something in the corner of his mouth lifted 1/4 of an inch, and it stayed lifted for 2 seconds, and it was enough. The van was matte black, the side door already open, the ramp deployed. Ash drove them to the garage in a golf cart down the service road, so no one on the ground floor saw them pass. Taehyun rolled up the ramp on his own power. He locked the chair to the driver anchor with a quick tug of a strap Maya had not known was there. He tested the hand controls twice. He turned the key. The engine caught on the first try. Ash, he said. Chief. The 5 will need the audio in the room, not in an earpiece. Play it from the gallery sound system. The technician's name is Park. He owes me his sister's tuition. Understood. And Ash. Yes. When they ask who is standing at my shoulder, you say my name, not the nickname, the name. Ash's throat moved once. Seo Taehyun. Correct. Maya climbed into the passenger seat. The van rolled out of the garage and onto the service road and past the north gate that Ash had opened remotely from his phone. The 2 men in dark suits at the corner did not turn their heads. They had been paid, Maya understood then, and paid recently, to see nothing between 12 and 2. Taehyun drove down the canyon in silence. He drove well. He did not drive fast. At the first light he set the parking brake and rested his hand on the wheel and closed his eyes for 2 seconds. Then he opened them, and the light turned green, and he went. The gallery was on La Cienega, 3 stories of glass and pale stone, a wide loading dock behind. Callahan was already on the dock in his beige trench, holding a folder in one hand and a paper cup in the other. Behind him stood a woman in a navy suit Maya recognized from the board hearing that morning, and behind her, 2 federal agents in windbreakers with the ATF crest on the sleeve. Taehyun rolled down the ramp. He handed Callahan the burner phone and the leather case, in that order. The case stays sealed until my uncle is in a vehicle, he said. It is his signed order to Han Ji-min, the week before the doctor's car was found on the 101. My father kept it. I found it in the safe of the study yesterday afternoon, when I was supposed to be sleeping. Callahan did not smile either, but he took the case with 2 hands, the way a man takes an heirloom, and he nodded once. Dr. Bennett, Callahan said, Ortiz has the child. She is in the black sedan on the corner. You want to see her before we go in. Maya went. Zoe was in the back seat, with the seatbelt on, and the 2 red cars in her lap, and a juice box in her hand. She saw Maya through the tinted glass, and her face did the thing 5-year-old faces do when the world clicks back into shape. Maya opened the door and knelt on the curb, and Zoe fell into her, without dropping either car. You came back, Zoe said, into her mother's neck. I came back. The tired man's chair. Did he race it? He drove it here. Zoe pulled back. She looked at Maya with the seriousness only a 5-year-old is capable of. Did he win? He is about to. Ortiz waited on the sidewalk. She did not interfere. When Maya stood, Ortiz handed her a single page with a state seal at the top and a signature at the bottom. Hold vacated, Ortiz said. You have full custody as of 3/11. Take her home. She is with me for the next part. She stays in the car with me until you come out. Maya kissed the top of Zoe's head and closed the door. They walked in through the loading dock. Ash was already at the soundboard with a man in a black polo who did not look up. In the main gallery, under a Rothko that cost more than the block, Seo Jung-ho stood in his charcoal three-piece with a glass of champagne and 4 of the 5 chiefs in a loose crescent around him. He was mid-sentence. He was smiling. Taehyun rolled through the archway. The room did not gasp. Rooms like that never do. But every glass came down at the same moment, and every conversation ended in the same syllable, and Jung-ho's smile stayed on his face for 1 full second after the rest of him understood. Taehyun did not stop until he was 3 feet from his uncle. He did not raise his voice. "Uncle!" "Nephew. Sit down." Jung-ho did not sit down. Taehyun raised 1 finger. The gallery's speakers, which had been playing something soft and orchestral, cut out. Then the audio began. Ambient hiss, the idling engine, the Korean sentence, the younger voice, the word appa, the word for now. The 5 chiefs listened. They listened to the end. When it stopped, the oldest of them, a man with a white beard and hands that had once held things Maya did not want to name, set his glass on a plinth and walked forward 2 steps and stopped and looked at Jung-ho and said 1 word in Korean that Maya did not understand, but that Ash, standing at her elbow, translated softly. "Enough." Callahan came in through the front with the 2 ATF agents behind him. Jung-ho put the champagne down slowly, as if the glass itself might detonate. He looked at Taehyun for a long moment. "You should have died in the second car," he said. "I know," Taehyun said. "I am sitting because of it." The cuffs went on in the small, quiet way expensive rooms allow. Jung-ho walked out between the 2 agents without another word. The oldest chief inclined his head at Taehyun, 4 degrees, no more, and turned and left. The other 4 followed him. The room emptied the way ballrooms empty after a fire alarm nobody quite heard. Taehyun sat under the Rothko in his chair. He did not move for 11 seconds. Then he rolled once toward Maya and stopped. "Dr. Bennett." "Yes." "Your contract is complete." "I know. I would like to hire you again. Different terms. We will talk." Zoe came in, through the loading dock at 3:42, 1 hand in Ortiz's, the other holding both red cars against her chest. She saw the chair, she let go of Ortiz. She walked the length of the polished floor with her LED soles blinking in the marble, and she stopped in front of Taehyun and held out one of the 2 cars. "You can have this one back," she said. "The first one is still on your table." He took it. He held it in his palm like a heart. He looked at her. "Race me," he said. She grinned. "Outside. Grass is faster." They went outside. There was a small courtyard behind the gallery with a strip of lawn and a low fountain. Meg was already there, in a wheelchair of her own, 1 hand in a blue hospital sock, an oxygen line tucked behind her ear. Callahan had made a call. Someone had driven her over from the cath lab with a nurse in the passenger seat because Meg had said, quietly and immovably, that she was not going to miss this. Zoe put the little red car on the grass at the starting line she drew with the toe of her sneaker. Taehyun rolled up beside her. She counted down from 3 in the fast, unserious way 5-year-olds count. She released the car. He released the wheels. He let her win. Maya sat on the low stone bench next to her mother. Meg watched the child roll the small red car across the grass, under a sky that had gone the exact shade of a good bruise, turning yellow at the edges. She reached over without looking and took Maya's hand. "That man," Meg said. "Yes. He is going to be your family until I die." Maya did not answer. She did not have to. She squeezed her mother's hand and watched her daughter cross the finish line first, and she watched the snow wolf, still in the chair, still under his own power, roll across the grass, a heartbeat behind her, laughing without sound, alive in a way no one in that house had seen him alive in 3 years. The car reached the fountain. Zoe raised both arms. He raised one. It was enough. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Tell me, K-Fam, have you ever poured your whole soul into healing a stranger, while the people closest to them were sharpening a knife behind your back? Have you ever been the invisible black woman in the room who saw the truth first and got punished for seeing it? And what would you have done, K-Fam, if a 5-year-old with a red toy car was the only witness who believed you? Mark my words, K-Fam. Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about invisibility, blood loyalty, and awakening, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.